Yeah, no, Bob, I gotta do this thing for Trek Lad. I mean, I'm filming a video in advance. He wants me to come on his show live. I mean, come on, who does he think I am? I ain't got time to go on his goddamn show live. I'm basically the Tom Cruise of Star Trek YouTube channels. I don't go on Trek Lad's channel live. I'll cut this all out. Don't worry. Star Trek Lower Decks. Is that natural? That's natural. Star Trek Lower Decks has come to an end, and it is legitimately the best first season of Star Trek that I have ever seen. Y'all might fight me, y'all might be like, but the original series, but Deep Space Nine, you're wrong. Go home. Star Trek Lower Decks is the best. Is that too rough? It's fine. Star Trek Lower Decks is the best first season of Star Trek. That is my statement about the season as a whole. And if Trek Lad, if you want a statement about this episode, I think it was fantastic. I think it was a great season finale. There was enough intrigue to set us up for season two, but it still came to a nice conclusion. It was a nice wrap up. It was great. Thank you for featuring me on your show. How much do I ask him? Like $50? They don't use dollars, they use pounds. £100? £100. Again, we'll cut this out, it'll be fine. Live long and prosper.
I couldn't have put it better myself. Thank you so much, Totty. Sean from Trek on the Tube there. Hello, everyone. Hope you're doing well. My name is Michael, aka the Trek Lad, and welcome to the season finale of Lower Decks. It's come to an end. It's 10 episodes just like that, incredible. So Lower Decks. Wow, what a show. What a show. Who would have thought it, eh? We are here to talk about the season finale, No Small Parts, but we are also here to talk about Lower Decks as a show, as a first season, as a whole. So as a result, as we have so much to get through, this is a 2-hour special. I know, 2 hours, but we're going to fill it with some really cool conversations and some incredible people. I basically said that I wanted to include everybody who has been part of Let's Talk About Lower Decks from the first episode to now. We have some all new panelists joining us in the first hour, where we're going to deep dive the final episode, No Small Parts, and then in the second hour we're going to bring people back, some old familiar faces, where we're going to talk about the show, the first season as a whole, and talk about our hopes and expectations for season 2. Right, before we do get into things, hello, yes, Michael, Trek Lad, thank you so much for joining me here on this live stream. If you haven't done so already, please like this live stream, and if you haven't done so already, please consider subscribing to my channel. I am hoping to get to 500 subs by the end of October. It's the 9th of October right now, and I'm about 440 odd subs. So thank you so much for all of those, but if you can help me get to 500, I will love you forever. Also, one more final plug. If you haven't already, or if you are thinking about helping out the channel, helping with me with these live streams and all of the production, the content that I'm hoping to come up with in the next couple of weeks, I've got a lot of stuff to work on. Please consider becoming a fan on my Patreon. You can go to Patreon/TrekLad. A subscription of £1 a month will gain you access to the Patreon-only Discord server, where we talk about Star Trek to our heart's content, and £3 a month and up gets you early access to podcasts, YouTube videos, all sorts of stuff that we've got going on here. So very exciting. If you want to become a fan, go to patreon.com/TrekLad, and that's all the plugs out the way. Let's quickly say hello to all of the people who are joining here in the chat today. We've got Starfleet Boy, tweeted early. He's chat early, but he's here. Hello, Starfleet Boy. Starfleet Boy will be joining us later on. We've also got Kit. Hello, Kit. Hope you're doing well. Caleb, who will also be joining us later on. We've got Gutter Trash Trudge. What a name. What a name. Yeah, we'll get into that. Who else have we got? We've got Taz. Awesome. Welcome. Thank you very much for joining. Tucko McTuckerpants, who I do think wins this season's best name in the chat. It's such a good name. It's such a good name. Continuing Trek, again, another person who will be joining us later. Selfish Peanut Hamper. What a great name, as always. Jill, thank you very much for joining. And the super, the legend, the Rashid Uzaman, who will be joining us, I hope, for our Discovery panel starting next week. There we go. Also, final couple of intros here. We got Steve Johnson. Hey, buddy. Amazingly talented artist. He sent me some artwork recently, and I'm still looking for frames to put it in. As soon as they're in frames, they're getting shared on Twitter. And finally, Galactic Center. Hello. Right. Let's bring people in. Right. So we've got some first timers in the chat today, some first timers who are joining me on the panel. But let's welcome first and foremost the guy. He's been there. He's my right hand man. He's my boing. Let's welcome in the Commodore Dan Decker. How you doing, buddy?
Oh, Michael, you big Bajoran beef stick. I got a couple of coital claws for you, friend.
Oh, wow. It's erotic. Getting off erotic. I love it. Also, we have welcoming to Let's Talk About Lower Decks for the first time. We've got Tiberius Hardy. How you doing, buddy?
I'm doing good. How are you both doing?
Woohoo!
We got a lot to talk about. We also have making his Let's Talk About Lower Decks debut. He's someone that has been joining the live chats for a long time. I love him to bits. Mr. Old Shark, how you doing, buddy?
Oh, not bad. Thank you. Thanks for having me. Tiberius.
You kind of seem surprised that we've added you to the stream. You're kind of like, oh, hello.
It's really strange because obviously I'm used to like being solo and things like that. It's like being on somebody else. Like, oh wait, I have no control over this.
It's all good. It's an absolute pleasure to have you here. And last but absolutely not least, we have Trash Panda Coco herself. How you doing? Hey. Right, okay, so here we go. Here's the final panel for this wonderful final episode of Lower Decks. I am overcome with emotion right now, to be completely honest with you. And if you are watching this live, please let us know what you thought of Lower Decks' season finale, No Small Parts. And then in the second hour, we're going to get into overall season thoughts. But these are the guys here with me for the first hour. Guys, let's start with you, Trash Panda Coco. Where do we begin with this episode? Well, first of all, I'm going to ask, sum up your thoughts. What did you think of this episode?
Incredible for multiple reasons. I mean, like I think everyone gets excited if they do any kind of throwback, but I felt like in this episode it was just like throwback after throwback after throwback. It's like, let's just chuck everything in this. It was just really like, after the episodes we have seen, which had quite a very humorous tone, this one took on a little more serious tone, which I did appreciate. But it did it so well. It really did it extremely well.
Old Shark, what did you think of this season finale?
Yeah, I mean, pretty much the same thing. I mean, we got so much, it was unbelievable. It was like somebody got everything tracked, chucked it all into a piano and just smashed it wide open. It was just, Christ, we got everything. I mean, like Trash was saying, obviously we got throwbacks from this, that, and everything else. We had Riker saving the day yet again on another finale. Christ, I mean, obviously I had the Packlids. There's so much. But yeah, there's definitely more than you can name all in one go.
It is.
Twice before I went to work, and then I had my lunch break, and I was like, there's still parts I still don't know, so I was like, right, watch it again. I was like, I don't remember any of this, but yeah, there's just too much to consume in one go.
It was almost overwhelming at times, the amount of stuff that they packed into this episode, but overwhelming in a very, very good way. And we will talk about how this episode has been able to successfully juggle so many moving parts. Tiberius, hello, sir.
Hello.
Sum up your feelings for No Small Parts.
I was completely blown away by this episode. I haven't felt this good about Star Trek since Star Trek 2009 made me jump out of my seat when the Enterprise flew in to fight in the Narada at the end. When the Titan turned up, I was out of my chair. I was clapping. In my own house by myself. I was clapping.
I mean, from the reactions, you were not alone, and I was definitely with you. I mean, I went on This episode made me laugh more than any previous episode had done. And at one point, there was a scream. This episode got a scream out of me. Dan Decker will know exactly what that moment is. It's when a certain new captain, well, not new captain, but a certain Captain Riker sat in the chair talking about his latest holodeck adventure, and he said something, and I just squealed. Commodore, know, you've been with me since episode 1. We've been pretty much unanimous in our joy of this show. It's not been perfect. Some of the early episodes weren't, they were still good, but they weren't great. But I mean, they said that the latter half of episodes, the final 5, the back 5, were going to be fantastic in quality. But I think they undersold it. What did you think of this episode?
I think that as upset, quote unquote, as upset as I was with all of the spoiled trailer moments, the fact that Riker was kept secret until it was just the best surprise was amazing. And I love the way he came in. He was basically, oh yeah, just off the holodeck, has a sit down, and then it's like, and he's like, yeah, and then in the warp of 5, 6, 7, 8, I died. And Troy's like, oh, not with the jazz. Oh my God, it was so good, and it's like it was packed with so much heart. And let me just say, and we can talk about this in the season overall theme, but it's important to note what I think it is the season of Trek with the most intentional names for episodes that I've ever seen. The episode titles themselves are part of the story, and it's been a nice treat to see. I mean, that's where the intentionality starts,
Yeah, I would agree that I think that they refound the practical use of episode titles in the shows. I think that this trend of kind of making them a bit whimsical started with Voyager and then carried on into Enterprise a little bit. I think Enterprise improved a little bit on having the episode titles mean kind of what the episode was going to be, but Discovery's obviously taking it in a bit of a different direction, and that's fine. I don't think they really care about what the episode titles are because we don't really get them after the credits. That's just the direction they want to go in. But obviously, what Lower Decks are doing, they're going with this clearly TNG aesthetic, aren't they? Where the episode titles in TNG always meant something to the story of the show. Where on earth do we begin? I mean, the one thing that I wanted to talk about, and I mentioned it earlier, and we're all kind of talking about how the show managed to achieve so much, is if you think for a second, I mean, of all of the various storyline plots, not just in this episode, but over the last 10 episodes, the amount of things, the amount of callbacks, the amount of clever little nods, and the clever callbacks to some things. Like, the one thing I was thinking as I was rewatching this just now for the second time, when they break open the bulkheads and all of Mariner's contraband comes out, that stuff that we saw in the very first scene in the very first episode that everybody just went, that's throwaway, we're not going to see that again. But it actually proved pivotal to the events in this episode.
Mm-hmm.
So the one thing, I mean, I don't want to talk about the naysayers for too long, but I would like to imagine that if people are fair with this show, I can imagine watching it for the first time and being like, yeah, it was okay. It was okay. Because I think my reaction to Lower Decks on the first episode was, it was okay. Yeah, it was all right. It was fine. And then as it's gone on, I've absolutely fallen head over heels in love with this show, climaxing with this episode. But what do you guys think? Tiberius, what do you think in terms of people, do you think that if you are a naysayer, if you're someone that's perhaps a little negative, that you would watch the first episode go, well, I'm not so sure. Do you think if you watch it and you give it a fair shake, you get through to the final episode, do you think this show would win you over?
I think it's fair to say that this season goes on a sort of upward spiral in terms of quality. And you can just see it with the reviews on IMDb. People love it more as it goes along. And clearly the character arcs pay off as it goes along. So I think, doing those first 20 minutes doesn't do it credit. At least give it the first 5 episodes, because one of my favorites is the mid-season episode. So I think those naysayers just need to give it a little bit more of a try.
Old Shark, what are your thoughts with regards to that? I mean, what were your thoughts when you started watching Lower Decks for the first time? compared to your thoughts of the show when you got to the end of this last episode? Did you start off a little bit kind of lukewarm, and towards the end you were like, I absolutely love this, or did you love it from the get-go?
Pretty much from the get-go, I'd say. I mean, obviously, before it all started, I was like, I wonder what this is going to be like. I wonder if it's going to be, more adult, more child-oriented. Is this something where you're going to have, like, say, 12-year-olds coming in? It's like, you can enjoy this. And when I start watching, I was like, no, this is not for 12-year-olds. This is definitely not for 12-year-olds. And obviously now, I mean, I think there's only been one episode where I've obviously been a little on the negative. Wait, it was actually quite a bit on the negative side. But other than that, I definitely say that most of the episode it's been like, I like this one, love the next one, maybe like the next one, but this one was just, it was absolutely cram-packed. It was absolutely great all the way through, I'd say.
I'm assuming that's your children in the background, and I'm guessing that they liked the sound of this. I'm assuming they liked Lower Decks as well. And
that will be Celeste playing with her two brothers. Sorry, guys, I didn't realize you could hear.
No. It's all good. It's all good. I mean, I mean, they are kind of channeling my inner thought right now when I think about this episode, and I'm getting some nods here. Trash Panda, this episode did a lot, like we said. Did it work for you? Did it all kind of stick the landing?
Yeah, I mean, I kind of liked it from the get-go because I'm a very easygoing person. I'm that annoying person who kind of pretty much likes everything,
Oh, how dare you? How dare you like stuff?
But yeah, I watched it and I instantly kind of clicked with it because obviously you've got the show Rock, Mick and, you know what I mean, Mick and Rory, and my sister loves that, and it was definitely along the lines of that kind of humor. So I was like, I'm going to find this funny, but I know that she's going to find it funny as well, which is great. So, it's a Trek show we can actually watch together and she enjoys. And as it just went along, I just grew to love the characters extremely quickly, which that can be very hard. So sometimes it can take a while to really grow towards the characters. I find anyway, especially, if it's the first series. Sometimes even by the first series, you're still a bit like, but I felt I was like really behind them by about 3-4 episodes in. I was like loving them, loving their interactions, and just loving where it was going, really.
So there is so much to break down in this episode, but what I do want to do is I want to go around the room right now, and I want to ask you guys to let me and let everybody know what your favorite aspect of this final episode is. So the Commodore, what was... I know it's hard because we like all of it, but if you had to single out one thing, one aspect of this show, what would be of this episode? What would your favorite aspect of No Small Parts be?
It held true to the title. Everybody we've seen on the show had a part to play, a significant contribution to how the story played out, or the success or failure of the mission as it became. And I think that, it just, and so much heart from everyone. But yeah, everybody had something important to do. We got to see our boy Shax shine. Shax, I know, right? Big love. I liked the picture. I just like to think that that's his resting Shax face. That's just, that's him being happy. But and note, he said condition alert. Isn't that what Malcolm came up with?
I didn't catch that. And
yeah, he didn't say red alert. He said condition alert. And I was like, so much good stuff in this show. But yeah, just the fact that everybody held true to the title. Everybody had an important part to play, right down to the, stuns and kills.
I think this is because one of the things that we've been talking about and you've been part of those conversations, Dan, is the thing is we've always been holding out and hoping to have like a big episode that features all of the characters, all the principal characters in this show, whether it be Lower Decks or the senior crew. I would say that the season kind of lets down Tiana, a little bit of Tiana, whatever you want to call her, the Doctor, but she still had some fantastic moments in this episode as well. Everybody got a chance to shine in some way, shape, or form in this episode, and really, really lends itself well to the title. Tiberius, what was your favorite? If you had to isolate one aspect of this episode, what would be your favorite and why?
There's one that I'm going to put to one side because I think it was probably the biggest bit of the episode. I'm just going to leave that for someone else. My other favorite thing is the fact that I got to see a Return of the Archons seen. I didn't think I'd ever get to go to Beta 3 again. And Landru, sorry. Like, what is this?
I'm still going to the Red Hour.
Yeah, I like the Red Hour. I bought a new scythe. Like, this is great. More of this, please.
I just love the fact that, I mean, and it's something because every week Dan messages me and he's like, dude, tell me when you've seen the new episode. And I'm like, it's 6 a.m, man. Come on. As soon as I watch it, for the last 3 weeks, I've watched it and I've messaged him and I've gone, dude. and I mean, this week was something else. But yeah, I mean, just the fact that they go back to Beta 3, and I have to admit, when I recorded my initial reaction, because I have actually recorded my initial reaction to watching this episode for the first time, which we'll probably just see this channel copyright striked and sent down by CBS. But touch wood, fingers crossed that doesn't happen. I actually forgot that Beta 3 Landu happened in the original series. I thought it was an animated series episode. But to see them take the events of the original series, canonize TOS, which is incredible. But I think they called them the old scientists. The old scientists. But to use the old original animated images of Kirk and Spock was a wonderful touch. Just a wonderful touch. Like the people that are making this show, you can't say that they don't. Old Shark, can you mute yourself, please, buddy? Because I can't hear myself think. Thank you.
Sorry.
Muted. There we go. Sorry, Old Shark. I'll bring you back. But yeah, just the idea that, you know, we're now getting the representation of the animated series as well. There's no way you can't say that's canon anymore. It's not canon. Right,
it is.
It's canonized canon. It. There we go. It's all canon. It is. Even the books, even the rubbish video games.
That's canon. That's canon. Look, that's canon.
Trash Panda, what was your favorite element of this episode?
I think I kind of touched on it earlier. I liked the more serious tone it kind of went with for the end one. Like, obviously it didn't go really deep and dark, but I think one thing I've really enjoyed is seeing Marina's relationship with her mum and how that's progressed through the series, and how we ended up, you know, from the start to the finish, to the point where, you know, even though Marina had issues, they were kind of figured out, you know what, we do kind of work together as a good team, and this could possibly work. So that was a nice, you know, running arc throughout the series that I really enjoyed seeing where it got to in the final episode.
Yeah, and I think it was an overall great arc to see. And I think that Marina really had some fine moments of maturity in this episode, you know, and a lot of people that have been criticizing her character as being too perfect. I'm definitely of the opinion that she's not perfect. She's the galaxy's biggest screw up, isn't she? You know, and, you know, intentionally so. But to see her coexist with her mum, that scene towards the end, I mean, the writing of this episode from Mike McMahan is absolutely stellar. I would say my admission is the first episode, my biggest complaint was that it seemed that Mike McMahan was trying too hard to come across as extremely knowledgeable of the Star Trek franchise. But this just all kind of made sense, because I think over the course of the show, the confidence has grown, the confidence of the writing's grown, the jokes have landed better, the references haven't been so kind of glaring and just there, cosmetic. You know, the references have kind of made sense in the context of the story. But the final scene, the penultimate scene, I think, where Marina and her mother are talking and discussing things. The way that dialogue is written is so Trek. I mean, probably the most Trek scene I've seen in you know, not to say that Discovery and Picard isn't Trek, you know what I mean? But if we're going to talk kind of the true distilled philosophy of Star Trek. That scene was absolutely amazing. Old Shark, sorry, I outed myself as being someone that hates kids. I'm like Jean-Luc Picard, but just with more hair. Old Shark, what was your favorite element of this show, of this episode?
Oh Christ, there's been a few of them. Obviously, my favorite would be the same one Dan said. Obviously, Shax's basically where he's like saving, was it Rutherford?
Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, basically he's pushing the ship out. He's like doing the self-sacrifice thing. But obviously at the end of it, just at the end before it all goes catastrophic, he's got this big grin on his face as if to say, I'm dying, but I'm taking you all with me. Yeah, I absolutely loved that. Just absolute machine right to the end. Oh Christ, she's kicked. Sorry if you can hear that, girl.
No, it's all good. It's all good. I'll mute you if it gets bad. Don't worry. Right, okay. Let's talk about. No, I'm going to hold off talking about Shax because I'll probably get emotional. Exocomp.
Oh my gosh.
Exocomp. Peanut Hamper and the return of the Exocomps. Another kind of awesome return for Star Trek, but kind of done in a way that kind of makes sense. But the development of that character as well. We just assume that character is going to be the sacrificial lamb and the guest character. But she kind of does the Exocomp turns heel towards the end. But so again, a kind of another another subversion of expectation, another taking of a classic trope and kind of turning it on its head. So fantastic there. I guess we now have to kind of move to the bit that I didn't want to talk about, and that is the sacrifice and the loss. The loss. 10 episodes. You would say that 10 episodes isn't enough time to make an impact, especially when it's 25 minutes, but as Dan and some people in the chat would know, Shax has been my favorite character. So to lose him, even if it was an incredibly heroic death and sacrifice, broke me a little bit, to be completely honest with you. Thoughts, reactions, Tiberius. I mean, how did you process that? Come on.
It was an emotional roller coaster. I'd just seen I've seen him go, and then the Titan turns up. So I didn't have a moment to breathe. I was like sad and then elated a second later. So I don't think I've really been able to process Shax. And I've always said he's kind of like a Worf amalgam, like a TNG Worf, like wants to shoot but can't do it because Picard says no every time. So that's one of the reasons I've loved Shax. But it's also nice to see a Bajoran that's a feisty Bajoran, much like our beloved Major Kira. So it's a sad loss for next season.
Do you think were you disappointed, Tiberius, to see Shax be killed off, or do you think that it made sense? And do you think that there's any potential that they could even perhaps bring him back, or do you think he's gone for good?
I would say he's gone for good, and I'm going to be controversial and say that's probably for the best.
Okay.
I love the character. He's had a good run, but I think we've got 4 main characters and 4 sub-main characters now instead of 5, if you count the chief engineer. Yeah. And so that kind of gives them a little bit more room. And maybe you could see, Mariner be moved up to security, and maybe she can sit behind the desk and help her mum out from next season. I don't know.
Yeah, so the thing that I took from that was that it was the trope. I mean, you would think that the security officer would be the most dangerous position on the ship, especially when you're head of security like Shax was. That it kind of makes sense. I mean, we've seen Tasha Yar, and we got another Armus reference in this episode as well. They like that episode for some reason. But yeah, I mean, it would make sense that the security officer would be the character that would lose his life, unfortunately. Old Shark, what was your thoughts with regards an initial reaction to the loss of our new favorite Bajoran?
So I'm kind of with Tiberius on this. So I mean, when I looked at it, well, I was obviously at work. I had nothing much better to do outside of about 2 hours of a quiet spot. Obviously, we deal with customers, but occasionally it's like there's nobody there. But yeah, obviously you've got Mariner, but you also had Shax. But you've got 2 people who are like, they'll go hell for leather. So I think we basically, if you know where I'm coming from. You've got two people exactly the same. So I'm wondering if that's where the writers have maybe come from. It's like, all right, we've already got Mariner. She's one of the main characters, if not the main character, and you've got Shax as well. But at the same time, it's a real shame because obviously the same as you guys, we get really attached to these guys, even if they are, animated. Yeah.
Trash Panda, with regards to you, because you've mentioned that your favorite aspects of this episode was its ability to balance the drama and the cute. Well, I mean, your favorite aspect was the darker moments of this episode, and the drama and the emotional moments. Do you think that the episode found balance between its darker moments and its comedic moments, or do you think it kind of leaned more towards the dramatic moments? And tell us how you felt about the loss of Shax.
I think it just balanced it very well. As I think it kind of worked depending what the story is for each episode. And obviously this is the final. So to make it a little bit more serious, but still with the humor that we've come to know, they did it in a very, very balanced way, which I really liked. I remember when I was watching it and I was thinking, it's crazy. At the start of this season, well, I don't know if you felt the same, but I felt a bit like, I don't know how I feel about the command team. They're a bit, rude, and they're a bit not that likable. And then as the episodes go on and you got to know them more, you went, you know what? They're not that bad. And then by the final episode, I remember sitting there, and when Shax picked up Bolliman, I was like, hell yeah! And then when he died, I actually felt like, I feel sad. I can't believe that just happened. I was like, I literally, when it came to the moment where I was like, they're going to kill him off. They're going to kill him off. I was like, no, I didn't want it to happen. So I was like, that's just a testament to how much I had grown accustomed and fond of the characters that we've shown, that I didn't actually want him to die. I'm not saying it was really well written. Like, it was a very noble death, and I loved how he went out, but it definitely had the impact with the feels for sure.
Yeah, definitely. And I would agree with you. And I'm sure it'd be interesting to get your thoughts, guys, is that I think when we got introduced to the characters for the first time, the senior crew was supposed to feel out of reach. And still, I think to some degree, they do feel out of reach. Perhaps to Tendi and Rutherford, but they were supposed to be the guys that we didn't see much of. I always maintained in the show's early run that I would have liked to have seen less of the senior crew, focusing more on the lower decks, because the show is called Lower Decks. But do you know what? I think that opinion changed. I think towards the end, in the final 5 episodes, I think they really struck a balance well. And I think the writing overall of the characters from top to bottom, from the Lower Decks guys to the senior crew, I think was fantastic. Obviously, you're going to have more opportunities for the ensigns, but the senior crew were well balanced, and really, put some great voice work, but some great development as well. I mean, there's a reason why. I mean, if you combine all of Shax's lines and all of his voice work and all of his moments, it probably doesn't equate to much. 5 minutes, maybe. But in those 5 minutes, we came to love the guy a lot. So with that in mind, Commodore, what's the legacy of this character? What's the legacy of Shax?
Oh, obviously heroism. There it is. Heroism. He just he knew his job. He'd been champing at the bit all season long to shoot something, and he got his chance to do it hands on, and he was not going to let it pass.
This is the greatest day of my life.
I know, right? And it he embodied every warrior element, every honorable warrior element that we've seen. He embraced it's a good day to die. The needs of the many outweigh the needs of the one. But I gotta say, the opening salvo really, literally set the tone for this episode when they just obliterated the Solvang, and that was my first shocker moment. That we hadn't seen that kind of tone in this show. That's the first time we had seen literal, death murder. And the Pakleds just showed up and we're like, Enterprise, and that was a rough way to start the episode. And so when we got to Shax, I was like, well, I was willing to buy it. And as Tiberius noted, it is a bit of a roller coaster because you do flip immediately into that the Titan, Cerritos is dodging, ducking, and dodging and trying to get out, and then the Titan comes in and Riker's there, and you kind of swell from this sad cry into this happy cry, and you really, you're mad at these bastards for subverting your expectations with a show that has heart and if beat it all if they're not a capable crew.
What was your so with the Packlids? That was a really interesting addition, a really interesting development. And thinking about it after watching the episode for the first time and then rewatching it and then thinking about it some more, I think that's bloody genius, because what they've done is they've taken a one-time alien species. I do appreciate that we saw some Packlids in Deep Space Nine, but they had no relevance on the story. They had no impact on the story. They've taken this one episode villain of the week, and I think, and I'd be interested to know your thoughts on this, they've turned the Packlids potentially into quite a dangerous new enemy to the Federation. Tiberius, how do you think the change to the Packlid dynamic, do you think that that's a good change, and do you think that opens the door to continue to play with these this race and to potentially continue to elevate them as a species just as dangerous as maybe the Borg? Because the way I saw it is the Packlids and their assimilation of technology onto their ship, it was a mixture of Vidians and Borg, but with the original kind of idea of the Borg being the ultimate users of technology. Do you think that change is good for the Star Trek franchise, and do you want to see more of the Packlids, Tiberius?
I was glad to see them back, but the way I took the Packlids being in the episode and the way Captain Freeman talks about the whole situation at the end is that I thought what they were trying to say is that in the next season, you're going to deal with what-if scenarios for other species. So you might see the Packlids again in another episode, but I think you might just see like random enemies from different episodes now in a different context in the next season. Perhaps worse or perhaps nice all of a sudden. I don't know. So I think that's more the angle they're going for. But as I say, I would love to see more Packlids, just to have them just go, Packlid!
Enterprise! Other Enterprise! Trash Panda, what did you think of the reintroduction of the Packlids, and do you want to see more of them?
I really liked it because I always think it's interesting to take something that you think might not be that threatening and kind of just flip it on its head. I think it was said in the actual episode like that Starfleet always assuming never, I can't know exactly what the thing she said, but it was basically that. It's like you can't just assume that this one race, which at the time were idiots or whatever, are always going to remain that way. You always have to kind of think, well, just like how Earth kind of has adapted and gotten to where they are, that can happen to any race. So for a race like that to come back and to be that powerful is, in my books anyway, completely, reasonable, really.
Old Shaq, thoughts on the return of the Packlids?
Yeah, I mean, obviously, same sort of thing with him. I think it was it Samaritan Snare that came in?
Mm-hmm.
I thought that was a quite good thing with Riker as well. Because obviously, before, I think Picard obviously went off, it was like for a heart operation or something along those lines. And obviously, Riker's attitude was they're not really worth bothering with. They're not a threat. They're a bit dull. He was like, they'll be okay. And obviously, they end up taking Geordi hostage. This time round, obviously, he flies and he's like, right, taking no chances this time. No talking to them or anything else. Just open fire straight away and just starts giving them a good pounding. I thought it was great. Obviously, I mean, when they took the Enterprise, I thought, oh God, that's it. They're just going to rip it to shreds. And obviously, Riker just swoops in, Titan, boom, have some of this.
It was definitely a good moment. I'm saving that moment. I don't know if you can tell. Commodore, final say on the Packlids, and do you think that we could see? I mean, the thing is I don't know how much Lower Decks will tie into Picard season 2 and Discovery season 3, but my kind of theory about this, and it's a proper hot take theory. Interestingly, one of the modes that Rutherford was going through included hot take mode, which is either something that I'm going to say right now as a wild theory, or a very subtle dig at some of the show's naysayers, which I just absolutely loved that they put that in there. But do you think that the Pakleds could prove to be? Do you think they could be adversaries that we see in Discovery Season 3, maybe?
That is an interesting point. I would like to note with Coco that, just ignoring them, we've ignored them for 30 years. And here they are to remind us that they've been collecting in the meantime. They didn't stop pursuing the ends, and like you said, they were in the background of DS9, and nobody paid attention to them because they're the Pakleds, and they're out there collecting the Daradex class warbirds and just grafting them onto their cargo freighters. So but it would be interesting to see if they play into any future or other and lower decks in general. And the way I like to think about it right now is because, canon this, canon that. Lower Decks is canon because it takes place in the universe in which all these other stories take place. And, Riker really showed up at the end of this episode. That's a thing that happened in Star Trek lore now, and that's accepted as alpha canon on Memory Alpha. But what happens in Lower Deck continuity-wise doesn't necessarily have to have an effect on anything else in the franchise whatsoever. It pulls from those continuities, and that's what gives us these fan moments. But, the exocomp floating in the, peanut hamper floating off in the middle of space, is that going to pay off? That's probably never going to pay off anywhere else other than Lower Decks. So it has an internal continuity that takes place in actual canon, but that doesn't mean that, it's not affected by, but I doubt it may affect other treks.
I never want to say never now because of the Star Trek franchise's ability to find small little things. Mariner's loot, for example. What if Peanut Hamper floats through space, comes across an Omega particle, lights it up, and that's the burn? What if Peanut Hamper is responsible for Discovery Season 3? It's probably not. It's probably not. Let's be real for a second. But the one thing that I do want to say though is again, hot take and tinfoil hatting this and all kind of wild theories and speculation. But towards the end of this episode, and we've all talked about it to some degree, when Freeman and Mariner are talking in Freeman's ready room, and they are talking about Starfleet and by extension the Federation's kind of assumption that the status quo is. And it's never going to change. And Beta 3, why have they regressed? Oh, no, just a bit of hubris, maybe. Do you think that the show has planted those subtle... I mean, we've already seen it in Picard with the Federation and Starfleet being a very, very different organization to what we are used to. And Picard is set 20 years after Lower Decks. So is the show and the franchise taking steps... Commodore, to line the universe up? Do you think they're doing that, or do you think it's just coincidence?
Everything about this show has been intentional, so I wouldn't be surprised if it were meant to line up and at least give us some backstory to where we are. You want some backstory to the first season of Picard, you can go read or listen to Last Best Hope. It's a good book, but it's not in the alpha canon, and so now we have some setup, some good times for the Riker-Troy family, the Riker-Troy family, before we know what tragedy befalls them, and we can see Will being the hero that we know he is in commanding, and that pays off in the season finale of Picard when he shows up and he's, it's pure Riker shooting from that Riker maneuver hip of his, and it's nice to see things like that get to pay off because we want to see and enjoy and remember those folks with a good time with something, happy happening. And the last time we visited the Rikers before this, we had to embrace a little bit of sadness with them, and this was just fun. It's good fun time with the family, all of them.
Coco, to my original thoughts with regards to tying up the universe, do you think that's something that Lower Decks is doing, or do you think I'm just a bit mad?
You're not mad, don't worry. I don't know really, like, I love how much they have brought into it and tie it in. I mean, I think in the back of my head, if they were doing the whole, like, how Marvel, despite the different movies, you know, they all consult with this one guy to make sure it all kind of slots in together. I would love the fact if, you know, maybe with Star Trek they're either doing that or end up doing that, because then you would get the same kind of seamless and flawless connectivity you get with Marvel. Really, it just works. That's because obviously, you know, you've got one person everyone keeps going back to just to make sure, does this fit in okay with this, so it'll work. So if that was happening, I wouldn't be upset.
Tiberius, same kind of question to you, but I'm going to take some thoughts that Coco just mentioned there. The idea of the MCU in Star Trek. I mean, I would argue, and I'm sure I'll get some nods here when I say that Star Trek may have helped the MCU understand how to tell interconnected stories. But what do you think about my thoughts? Do you think the Lower Decks is attempting to help us better understand the narrative, the changing of the Federation that we see on screen in Lower Decks, and that slightly bleaker, not as optimistic future that we see in Picard?
I think we would be silly not to acknowledge that Alex Kurtzman is the puppet master, as it were. He is overseeing all of these shows, and don't forget Prodigy's out there too, Section 31 if that happens. He is overseeing these things, and I'm sure he has a timeline, a board somewhere that plots out what happens to the Federation over time. But I think with something like Lower Decks, where it's like a 10-episode season, a comedy, 20 minutes each, I don't think you're going to see any massive changes to the timeline from that show. I think it's going to be quite self-contained in the grand narrative of Star Trek universe, whatever they call it now.
Yeah, I can definitely see it happening. I think it's I think it's just nice to be able to have these. It's nice to have Trek to talk about, the different flavors all kind of playing together, and I think that Lower Decks would be remiss if it didn't play with a load of the toys that have been left in that sandbox. So, right, I'm not gonna stall any longer. Let's talk about the Titan. And what I want to do, don't jump the gun, guys. Right, I'm gonna put the spotlight on you guys quickly, and I want you to do your best to recreate your reaction when the Titan swoops in, when you see Captain Riker and Deanna Troi, and when you finally hear Jerry Goldsmith's classic iconic Star Trek theme played for the first time in 18 years. Tiberius, spotlight is on you. What was your reaction in a facial expression? Commodore, what was your reaction?
I believe a few of you may have seen the tweet that I wrote, my spoiler-free reaction. But when it first came in, I was like, I want to believe that that's what I think that is. And I had to wait and see it. And yeah, same as my face was just, and I had to watch it on my iPad in the kitchen because my TV's out right now. And so, everybody else was asleep, and I was, and then I wrote the tweet. So yeah.
Old Shark, give us your best reaction. Stop choking, and give us your best. I mean, unless that was the reaction when you saw the Titan for the first time.
Perfect.
No, I wasn't drinking anything at the time. But no, it was basically a case of, yes, come on. It was just, he obviously came in at the opportune moment and just blasted straight away.
There we go. Perfect. I'll leave you to choke. Please don't choke, actually. Please don't. Coco, reaction. You're really good at these. What was your reaction when you saw the Titan appear for the first time?
Okay, this is going to be as accurate as I can be. So I think I was watching it and I was just like, and then the music. So I was going.
Amazing. I was picturing that in my head being perfect, and you guys did not disappoint. Thank you so much. let's talk about Easter eggs. Lower Decks has become famous for tiny micro references, Easter eggs, visual gags, and all sorts of incredible stuff. I have a feeling I might know what the majority of us will say our favorite Easter egg is. But Tiberius, of all of the little references and all the visual gags and all the little things that we saw that made us go, ooh, what was your favorite from this episode?
I think I might be stealing someone's here, but it has to be the Spock helmet. It has to be the Spock helmet. I've seen that thing in real life, and it's amazing. And just to see it actually now, it is canon. That helmet is now canon. Someone walks around with an orange light on their head. Yeah, that's got to be it.
Old Shark, what was your favorite little Easter egg from this episode?
Yeah, I mean, it was pretty much exactly the same as Tiberius. Because I was usually obviously watching at work, I wasn't paying full attention. And if I'm absolutely honest, I had to steal that one from the internet as well. I was like, are there any Easter eggs in this? I was like, straight on YouTube. And I had to actually cheat and do things that way. I was literally watching 15 minutes and then the customer's coming along. Can I help? I was like, oh, no, I don't want to help. I just want to watch this in peace.
I don't want to do my job. I want to watch Star Trek. You, Old Shark, are a hero. Coco, what was your little favorite thing from this episode that you absolutely loved?
I'm probably just have to agree with those guys. It was just great to see that, and obviously, I'm always happy to see a triple. Seriously, how can you not love these little things? So as soon as it fell out, I was like,
do you know what? I didn't even know there was a triple in this episode. That's how many little bits and pieces were in this. I mean, you could watch this episode 50 times and you'd find something new each time, maybe even more. Commodore, are we going with Spock helmet as well?
I can't claim Spock helmet because even after seeing it on the internet, I didn't go look it up. So I'm glad to know that I've got something to go back and find. I will say the TOS thing from Ransom, who is one of my favorite characters, especially when he's like, I'm trying to think. It's just killing me. But I also noticed the weapon, and this ties in again with Yar and the whole security thing, but that weapon from the infamous Code of Honor that spiked with the instant death poison was one of the contrabands, and Mariner and Riker having this rogue Han Solo Lando Calrissian relationship just kills me. Of course Riker is a cowboy in space. Come on.
It makes total sense. Yeah, I gotta say, Spock helmet for me. As soon as I saw it, I lost it a little bit. I was a little sad that the helmet didn't say Spock's helmet on it, because I think the actual toy does, and that would have just been the icing on the cake for me. Now, what I want to see, like you said, Old Shark, is I want to see that hat in situ. I want to see the way it would make sense for me is you use that hat in a shuttle bay to kind of wave a shuttle in. So I want to see a Spock's helmet on now. I will not rest until I see it in situ. Guys, it's been absolutely tremendous having you here. We're almost out of time for the first hour for this conversation, for this part of the conversation anyway. Tiberius Hardy, what if you could sum up No Small Parts and give it a star rating out of 5, what would you give it? And also, while you're here, what would you give this season, this first season of Lower Decks, out of 5 as well?
It's a toughie on the spot. I'll tell you what. Out of 5 for the episode, I'd give it a 5. I think it's a solid season finale and probably one of the best season finales in Star Trek. Probably third. But in terms of the whole season and just really analyzing how this whole thing did, apart from, I tweeted about this earlier, I still think the original series season 1 is the best season of Star Trek. But this little ship that could, the USS Cerritos, is now second place in the pantheon of first seasons. And that is something to be proud of for Mike McMahon.
Absolutely. Really impressive first season. I'll get to my ratings in a minute. Old Shark, same question to you, buddy. Overall thoughts for No Small Parts, 5-star rating for the episode, 5-star rating for the first season.
Yeah, I mean, exactly the same. I mean, this episode itself, absolutely flawless, beginning to end. It's obviously had that much packed into it. It's been unbelievable. Definitely at least a 5. Obviously, you can't go over it, but you know where I'm coming from.
Starfleet boy would disagree.
Season as a whole, definitely a 9 at least, at the very, very least.
Wow, a 9 out of 5. That's an impressive rating.
Well, I'm talking, 9 out of 10 kind of. So I'll give it a 4.5.
Love it. Perfect. Coco, same to you. Thoughts on this episode and a 5-star rating for the episode and the season?
I'll give the final definitely 5-star. Sorry, cat. Excuse me, darling. I definitely give even the whole series itself 5 stars. Mostly because with me, I find it could be hard to gel with a very new cast or new characters. It happened so fast with this that it was just like I was hooked very quickly. And my final thoughts on the final episode was just brilliantly wrapped up, and it had the right balance of heart, drama, and humor. It was just a really nicely, neatly packaged episode.
Perfect. One more final question for the three of you. What do you want to see from season 2? I mean, you can have one thing from season 2. You can add it to the show. Would you? Let's broaden this question for a second. Would you change anything for season 2? And or if not, I mean, what would you? No, I'm gonna put you on the spot. If you could change one thing about the show for season 2, what would it be, Tiberius?
Really simple answer. I would just like to see a bit more agency for Tendi and Rutherford.
Good answer. Old Shark?
I'd go with Mariner. Obviously she's well on the way already. She's gelling with her mother a lot more. I'd just like to see a lot more of that, a bit more maturity and stuff like that.
Yeah, it'd be interesting to see. I don't know if it's going to happen. I think she might be on a mission, given what happens towards the end of this episode, to sabotage Boing Boims. But we will see. We will see. Love it. Coco, same to you. If you could change one thing about the show, what would you change?
Can I go with nothing?
You can. You can. Of course you can. There we go. There we go.
I'm happy. Yeah. So I'm cool.
There we go. Awesome. Well, guys, as I said, it's been amazing having you. Tiberius Hardy, you've got a podcast. Tell us a bit about it.
I do. It's Spyhards, SPYHARDS. It's basically a weekly spy cinema podcast where we tackle the best and worst of spy cinema and try and figure out if it's worth watching.
What's
so check it out.
What's the next episode? What's on the agenda?
Next week we just announced that actually we're doing Jumping Jack Flash, starring Whoopi Goldberg. aka Guinan, a 1986 comedy film that I don't think anyone's ever seen in the UK, but a lot of love from the Americans that listen to it. So I really enjoyed going back to it. It's a funny film.
Love it. And I'll definitely check it out. A fantastic podcast that you and Cam have put together. So look forward to checking that out. And if you haven't done so already, check out Spyhards. Old Shark, you Twitch and you make stuff. What are you working on right now and where can you be found online, sir?
Crikey, at the moment I'm mostly doing work. By the way, Tiberius, that's one of my favorite movies as well.
Okay, I'll message you after this about that.
Goldberg, absolutely awesome. Especially when, I can't remember his name, he basically pans the guy over the head with a blooming dustbin lid. He moved a little.
I think it's Stephen Collins, isn't it, from the motion picture?
Yeah.
Old Shark, this is your plug time. Plug something.
Yeah, basically you can catch me on Twitch, Twitter, and pretty much anything else. I don't very much go on YouTube either, sorry.
That's all good. It's all
little
Old Shark, thank you so much for joining. Coco, you're an artist, a visual artist, and you are my co-pilot on my Stargate SG-1 adventure. But what are you up to in the meantime, and where can you be found on the interwebs?
You can find me on Twitter, and this is my handle right here. And there you will access my full and complete craziness.
Well, craziness, uniqueness, and brilliance are the terms that I would prefer. Trash Panda Coco, Old Shark, and Tiberius Hardy, you have been absolutely amazing. Thank you so much for joining us, and hopefully we'll see you on some Discovery live chats, and hopefully we'll see you back for season 2. Take care, everyone. Live long and prosper. All right. Okay. Let's let's kick all these people out. It's you and me, Commodore.
What's
You and
up?
me, the right hand man. We're into hour 2, and we've got some
And the
incredible
pledge board says no.
and we've got some awesome conversations to have. We're going to be talking. I'm sure the people that we're going to be welcoming in are going to want to talk about Lower Decks as well. Well, the latest episode of Lower Decks, anyway. But what we're going to do is we're going to be talking about the latest episode of Lower Decks, and we're also going to be talking about the season overall. Hence the reason why I didn't ask you for your season overall thoughts. So let's welcome into the chat at this time. We have repping Geek Unicorn. We have Rachel D. How you doing?
How are you?
All good, fantastic. Welcome. We've also got Chris Wickham, my good friend. How you doing, buddy?
The Quadfecta has reunited.
The Quadfecta. And
Double
we also have joining us, we have the wonderful Penny. Hello, Penny.
Hey!
Welcome. Right. Okay. So we're into hour 2 now. We're now talking about, we can talk about the latest episode for sure, because there's so much to unpack. What I want to do is I want to do something a bit different. Rachel, Chris, Penny, all at the same time, I want you to describe for me no small parts in a noise. 3, 2, 1, go. Perfect. So we've got screams from Penny and Chris, and just pure, unadulterated, unfiltered laughter from Rachel. I love it. I love it. Guys, what a roller coaster. 10 episodes been and gone already. It's a little emotional. But Rachel, sum up your feelings for the latest episode and the show's first season in general.
I don't have any for the final episode because I have not watched it yet. I know.
Why are you
Don't
here?
piss me off. Don't get, I did read. Bye, guys.
What are you doing here?
You are not welcome here.
No. Rachel's welcome, but why have you read it?
She's not there.
Yeah, no, I did read a synopsis of it. So I do know what happens. Like, I do know who makes an appearance. And I actually had a question for y'all and everybody in the chat. Is Deanna Troi the one character who has appeared on the most amount of series? Because
it's Riker. It's Riker. Riker's appeared in 6, and Troi has appeared in 5.
But
what's the 6 that Riker has?
She's done so many Voyager episodes, though.
Oh no! Sorry, my mistake. Because Jonathan Frakes has appeared in 6. I think Deanna Troi might have appeared in the most, because in Deep Space Nine, he's Thomas Riker. He's not Will Riker.
Yeah.
So it's probably neck and neck, to be honest.
Yeah.
Because, as you say, but Troy's on a lot of Voyager episodes, and Frakes is in Death Wish, which I watched earlier, when Q zaps him over there. So, it might be neck and neck.
It's good to be the director.
So I mean, let's face it. I mean, Jonathan Frakes and Marina Sirtis are kind of like the first man and first lady of Star Trek at this point, really, aren't
right? They're Star Trek mom and dad.
Yeah, and no one's mad at that at all.
No,
Rachel, I'm going to say thank you so much for joining. You're insane, but that's why we love you so much. Penny,
well, I have a good excuse though. It's Thanksgiving weekend in Canada. So I've been cooking and cleaning all day. I've got a turkey in the oven. I'm chopping veg. So, and yeah. Anyway.
It's fine. And we're gonna let you go in a bit as well, so you can carry on with your Thanksgiving preparations. Happy Thanksgiving to you and to all of our Canadian friends. Thank you very much for watching, and thank you Rachel for joining. Penny, sum up your thoughts, because I hope you have watched this episode. Sum up your thoughts and feelings. Sum up your thoughts and feelings for No Small Parts and the season overall.
Oh God, I loved all of it. Absolutely all of it. I don't have a bad word to say about it. It's insane, hilarious. It's everything I wanted it to be and more.
Chris, same question to you, buddy.
No Small Parts was a hell of a ride. I mean, it was a fantastic self-contained episode which existed by itself without the need for the references, although the references were gold. The cameos, which I won't spoil for Rachel, even though she knows them, were fantastic. the jokes really, really landed as well for the finale. Like, it was just the complete package as an episode. Season overall, brilliant. Really enjoyed it. It's got that wonderful combination of self-contained episodes, but overarching storylines for some of the characters. You know, it's amusing. Great character development. Great writing. Thumbs up from Chris.
So, right, what I want to do, because we're presented with a unique opportunity. Rachel has not seen it. Rachel is going to see it, of course. However, what I want to do is I want you guys to give Rachel a reason why she should abandon her Thanksgiving preparation and watch the episode right now. And you've got a sentence to help Rachel basically chuck the turkey away and watch Lower Decks immediately. Commodore, what would you say to Rachel?
Oh, it's 25 minutes. I mean, if you have a phone or an iPad, you need a restroom break. Nobody's judging you. It's okay. 25 minutes.
That's quite powerful. That Penny, what would you say to Rachel?
Yeah, I'm gonna go with Dan there. I mean, it won't take long at all. Just go and do it. I can't say much more without spoiling the episode.
Chris.
I'm just going to say that it's been a long road getting from there to here. So when you do watch, bring your largest hawker. That's all I'll say.
Oh, there we go. And it's non-spoilery as well. Yeah, Rachel, these guys make good, compelling arguments. But I do appreciate that you've got things that you need to be doing. But I do want to say thank you very much for joining.
Well, yeah, I want to share my favorite moment out of the series as a whole, because I think it's really important. So it was J.G. Hertzler yelling, "Can we swear on this?"
Yes, you can.
It was after 10, you're fine.
And then hanging up was my absolute favorite. And then I tweeted that, and he liked my tweet. So then it just made it even more glorious of a moment for me. So that was absolutely my favorite part. And for those of you who don't know, I named my cat Martok. So it was a beautiful moment for me for Lower Decks. Highlight of 2020.
And glorious as a word to describe it is perfect, because that's very, that's up there in Klingon lexicon as well. What a cool story. Yeah, J.G. Hertzler turning up. Some of the voice cameos that we had on the show as well, just absolutely fantastic. But Rachel, I mean, having, you've not seen the final episode yet. We all know we've pissed you off about it. We've told you to go and watch it.
Let's insult her a little bit more.
No. What were your thoughts? What have your thoughts been of this journey? The first 9 episodes, anyway. You were here on the very first episode. When we were talking about it. You had some critique. We all had some things to pick from the show back then. But how's the show been for you? In terms of how you've received it, has it improved in your mind? And what would you change, if anything, heading into season 2?
I words can't even describe how fantastic I think the show is. It's really hit the nail on the head. Even when it doesn't, I feel like it still does a good job, because it's just so beautiful to watch in the first place. I really liked because my first criticisms on the very first episode were that Mariner was a little bit too abrasive, maybe, I guess. And so I do really like her character development. I like how, I think it's been really good. And I agree when I see people online say things like it may very well be the very best first season of any Star Trek series, because it's just so on point, I find. And so for season 2, what I'd really like to see is some 2-parters, some 3-parters, some long story form. I would like to see that. I mean, I know Discovery is doing that, and they're kind of maybe doing it a little bit to death in some places, but I would like to see like a 2-3-parter. For sure.
I think that's a really good point. It's not been brought up by anybody so far. To see a 2-parter for sure would be absolutely great. I'd see a 3-parter. I'd be like, Bajoran Siege. Yeah, come on. Penny, what would same question to you, really? You know, when you watched this show for the first time, your initial thoughts compared to now, has the show gone up in your estimation, or has it been pretty much level since day one?
I think Coco said earlier that she just kind of likes everything, and I'm kind of in the same boat on that. I mean, I just thought it was fun from the get-go. I mean, I can't really remember what the first episode was about now. But yeah, it's gotten better, but it's not astronomically better at the end in my views. I just loved it all. I think it was probably the best first season of any Star Trek, as many other people have said. And it might actually end up being my second favorite Star Trek show.
Wow, there we go. I mean, I did say at the very start that it had the potential to be people's favorite Star Trek show, and I mean, I stand by those words. I actually think that I would probably double down on that statement as well. I mean, definitely of all the shows that are currently on air, I mean, you guys know how I feel about the other shows. This is my favorite of the shows that are currently on air. Chris, same question to you. You know, we talk all the time. Very not suitable for work conversations we have sometimes, but yeah, I think you and I were in agreement that we had the same ideas about Lower Decks. But the quality of the show for you, has it improved, or has it stayed fairly consistent for you?
I've had the fortune of watching it all recently, start to finish, because my partner was like, she watched Much Ado About Boimler with me, and she said, I quite like that. Can we watch all of them? And I was like, yeah, we can. So I think we did that over the weekend pretty much, and over this week. And I think the quality has been consistent, to be honest. If anything, it's got a little bit better. I think I was here for the first discussion as well. I think a lot of the problems I had with that first episode were ironed out quite quickly as the characters found their footing and whatnot. I think people are kind of their exaggerated selves in the first episode, almost to make that statement of, these are the characters, this is who they are at their core, you know, let's get on with it kind of thing. But as the show's gone on, I think it's kind of really firmly found its feet in great storytelling and, you know, intriguing character development. And in terms of next season, I don't care if Rachel hasn't seen it. Cover your ears. I think it would be nice to see, because obviously now we've got Boimler elsewhere. It would be nice to see maybe a second ensemble cast, kind of arising from that, as well as the crew still on the Cerritos.
Yeah, I find that a really interesting thing. I do want to quickly welcome into the chat. We're going to have a 6th member on the panel because he is calling us from a bus. And he messaged me and he said,
I believe they call them transports.
He said, can I please be part of the panel? And we have to have him in, the one and only Albert Android. Hello, buddy. How you doing?
Hello. How are you? Technically not a bus. It is my fault. It is my Kia Ceed, so it is a mode of transport.
Even better.
I am somewhat disappointed that you are not doing this from a bus. I was hoping that it would that we were going to have an.
I want my money back.
Yeah, we were going to have an international flavour, and we were also going to be doing it from a bus as well. But Albert, welcome. I do appreciate that your time is precious. Have you have seen this episode, haven't you? You have seen it.
What There's an episode? What?
Yeah. There's a show. There's a show.
At least Rachel knew there was an episode.
Oh, right. Yeah, of course I have, guys. Of course I have. There's only one way to describe this episode for me, and I think a very famous Knight of the Realm said it better than anybody else. I'm happier than a tornado in a trailer park. The ending. Oh. We had Oh, hang on. I think we've lost somebody.
No. We've not lost someone. I'm
actually
giving you the spotlight, Albert. I want you, right? I want you
no pressure,
to.
Then.
No pressure. What did you think of No Small Parts and Lower Decks' first season overall? You look good. You look good. You look $1 million. Just get on the bus.
Fantastic. Thank you. The season overall, first off, I think, personally speaking, has to be one of the best opening seasons of any Star Trek, and to be fair, any sci-fi related program.
Wow.
It's the first time I've ever actually really wanted to go back and watch it all again from start to finish, pretty much straight away. As for No Small Parts, the last episode, it was good because at first I honestly thought it's like, oh no, are they actually going to destroy the Cerritos? Are they all going to go? Is that the way they're going to end this? And then you'll remember, Tretlad, the discussion we had on Networking on Nimbus 3, where you asked me what program would I do or remake or make if I had any choice of any iteration of Star Trek. And I said to you, I would do the Titan with Captain Riker.
You did.
Commander Riker on there. And you imagine how many times I jumped around that room when I seen the Titan come in, and I'm like, is it Riker? Is it Riker? It's like, yes, it's Riker. Fantastic. I was happy as a pig in shit on that one, honestly. I want to see more of the Titan. I want to see, no disrespect to the Cerritos, but like season 2 of Lower Decks, let's just see the Titan. Let's just have that. That's it. That'll do me nicely.
Right. Well, Albert, I just want to say, I was going to ask you for your reaction, but we already got the reaction, so perfect. Yeah. No, I'm so pleased for you because you did say that was something that you wanted to see, and we got it. This is the show that delivers. It's giving us all of our dreams, which is absolutely amazing. Albert, I'm really, really pleased that you could join. We are a little bit rushed for time, so what I want to do quickly is just go around the room, starting with you, Rachel. Now, I realize that you can't give us a star rating for this episode, but you can probably get. It's a 5. It's a 5. But I would like a 5-star rating for the 9 episodes that you've seen so far. And what are you looking forward to? No, we've already done that. A rating for. Actually, do you know what? Sum up Lower Decks' season 1 for me that you've seen so far, and a rating out of 5 for it so far for you.
It's just good old-fashioned fun. It's sci-fi turned up to 11. It's taking all the little things that they took seriously in all the other series that were still quite weird. Like, weird things were still happening, and just making it even weirder and more absurd. And I love it. I love that. I'm laughing at the absurdity. I'm loving the visuals. I'm loving the characters, the voices, like the guest stars, everything. And like, to everybody's point, I want to go back and watch the whole thing again as well. Or I guess at least for the first time anyway, for the last episode.
We're going to start reminding you of it. Chris, give the episode a rating out of 5. Give the season a rating out of 5, and your thoughts overall.
I'm going to give both the last episode. Actually, no. I'll probably give the last episode a 5. It's definitely the best one in my opinion, and the whole season a 4. It had some lower points for me, like Lower Decks low points. But in general, the quality was very high, and it shows a lot of promise. Very amusing, very well written. So yeah, very, very solid 4.
Penny, same questions to you. Rating out of 5 for the episode, the season, and your overall thoughts for Lower Deck season 1.
The episode gets a 5. The season, I got 4.8. And yeah, it's silly, it's fun, it's got the nostalgic feel to it. It's great.
Love it. And finally, Alba, same questions to you, buddy. Star rating for the episode, the season, and your overall thoughts for season 1.
Well, as always, I'll keep on tradition, and I'm going to steal Dan Decker's star rating and give it a 10 out of 10 for the episode. Now, the season for me gets a 4, but the only reason it gets a 4 is we didn't see enough of the Doctor for my liking.
Okay.
I would have loved to have seen more of that character, and we didn't. So, but, overall, a 4. But for the episodes on their own are 5s, but just for the fact that we never saw enough of that, I'd say a 4 for the season. But that's still good. That's still good.
Perfect. Thank you so much. Rachel, you're Canada's greatest digital marketing agency owner. Where can you be found on the internet?
You can follow me on Twitter at GeekUnicornWeb or check out my website at geekunicorn.com.
Awesome. Christopher Wickham, the world's most talented musician. Where can you be found on the interweb, sir?
Yeah.
There we go.
This is my handle on everything.
Penny, the world's greatest Red Dead Redemption player. Where can you be found on the interwebs?
Right, I'm going to get this right this time. It's this side. Yeah, there you go. That's my Twitter handle.
That's work.
Perfect. Follow Penny. She's absolutely marvelous, as are everybody. And Alba, the world's greatest bus driver. Where can you be found on the internet? And you also have a Star Trek podcast, don't you? Talk to us about it quickly.
Yes, we have Spot of the Week, which is currently a YouTube monthly digest where we talk about Star Trek. We are currently talking starting a journey talking about the characters. We've just recently recorded one about Pike, and we're going to be moving on to Captain Kirk for the next episode. By the way, that's going to be a round table, so if anybody's interested in getting involved with that, drop me a DM on... there we go, at Alba Android, which is the handle on Twitter. You can also find Spock the Week at Spock Week, which is also on Twitter as well. And you'll get all the links and the URLs and that for everything through our Twitter handles on the bios. So just drop us a line if you want to get involved, or if you just want to watch, just check us out.
Awesome, Albert, you're amazing. Go home. Rachel, go and get that turkey. Chris, go and enjoy your evening. And Penny, go play some Red Dead and be amazing. Put the cowboy hat on next time. And guys, thank you so much for joining us for this very special episode. Until next time, live long and prosper.
Thanks.
See you guys.
Bye.
All right. So that was the first batch of incredible guests. Dan, we've got some amazing friends here, haven't we?
Absolutely, we do have some amazing friends. It's humbling to be connected to such enthusiastic and genuine people.
And really, just some really good insight too. Like, every conversation we have is bringing up something different. Everybody's finding something different to love. Everybody's enjoying the show in a different way, which is absolutely fantastic. And you know what? I can't wait to get into it next week when we start talking about Discovery. And
oh my gosh.
And it's a show that everybody can watch. International distribution. We don't have to worry about people having to use VPNs. We don't have to worry about Jack Sparrow. People can literally watch this show. So when we start this all again, my friend, we're going to have everybody joining us. So we're going to have Rashid. We're going to have just all of these people. So I'm going to say to you, if you are watching this live right now, or if you're watching this on replay and you would like to be part of any future panels with me, Dan Decker, and the wonderful Star Trek fan community, please feel free to get in touch. Either let us know in the live chat here or get in contact with me on Twitter at TrekLad. Drop me a message and you will be here. You will be here for sure. Right, Commodore, let's welcome in some more guests. I believe we've got 2 Americans and 1 German-based Brit, but I've never got confirmation of that, and I don't like to assume. Let's welcome at this time, hailing in from Germany, Continuum Trek. How you doing, buddy?
Boom, boom.
Fine, how are you two?
Can't hear you. Oh, good. We can hear you now.
Oh, okay. How are you both doing? I'm fine. Yep.
I'm good. We've got some wild delay on your visual to audio, but we will work through it. Don't worry. We also have joining us the mighty. He joined us on our recent stream, our last one, I believe, and I love him so much. AJ Halliwell, how you doing, buddy?
Great. Still recovering from the
Still recovering. Absolutely, we all are, with the exception of Rachel, who's not seen it yet. And last but absolutely not least, he's one of my favorite people on Trek Twitter. Not to say that you all aren't, but this guy is just, I love him so much. And he has come in uniform. Caleb, aka Rogue Mo. Hey, Caleb, how you doing? That is a mighty fine uniform you've got on there.
I had to after that episode. I mean, I was just so pleased to see a First Contact uniform again.
Anyway. Anyone would think that you have been reassigned to a certain ship.
Yeah, I'm on the Titan now. I'm actually the first officer. Can't you see? Can't you see?
Oh, perfect. Right, well,
there we go.
He's extra commander.
the overall, the overall reception to this episode has been overwhelmingly positive. The reception of the show in general has gone from being positive with some trepidation to overwhelmingly positive once again. But guys, let's start with you, Continuum. Sum up your thoughts for this show, this first season of Lower Decks.
Well, as we went through the season, episode by episode, I had certain thoughts about Mariner and Boimler. As I said, as we went from episode to episode, I wasn't really a big fan of those two. I was more of a fan of Tendi and Boimler. I prefer those two much more. However, obviously now we come to the end of the season, and in the last, say 5. I think it was at least in the last 5 episodes, you began to realize there was a story arc for Mariner. Then I started paying more attention. I think the last time I was on your show, I said Mariner's not my favorite character. But now, having seen the last episode, I definitely have a different opinion. So the show for me now is, I have to say, a 10 out of 10 masterpiece. I love it.
Wow, amazing. High praise. And I think that is, I mean, you are probably, in a nutshell, people that have had criticism of the show. I mean, I think we all have at some point. I mean, you go back and you watch the first couple of episodes of Let's Talk About Lower Decks. I definitely had some issues with the show. I still have some issues with the show, but I've got issues with all Trek. I mean, nothing is above criticism as long as it's done in a constructive way. You've always been very constructive in your criticism, but that's high praise. It's awesome to know that the show's been able to win you over in that way.
Yeah, I think one thing that that I realized, because when I thought about it after the last episode, is that myself and Mariner have a lot in common. Is that, for instance, she was raised in one starship to another. She has a father for an admiral, a mother as a captain. She's been all over the place. So she's in a comfort zone where the others have come from civilian life into the service and trying to make something of herself. She's, no matter where she is while she's serving, she's always at home. So she'll never come out that comfort zone. And, it was simple. I mean, my father served, then I joined up when I was 18. And, for me, I didn't, coming into civilian life was a very whole strange new world for me, So that's why, you find a lot of people like myself miss the military life. And I have that sort of connection with Mariner. That's why my opinions of her changed at the last episode.
Interesting, and I didn't know that of you, and it's good to kind of get your insight on the show from a military perspective, and also the kind of that kind of lifer mentality that I know that a lot of people in the military get, and can be a bit of a struggle when you leave that military. So very interesting to get your thoughts. We will get more thoughts as well, but I do want to welcome at this time, I think he might be our final guest to see us out for the rest of the show. He is wearing some incredible headgear, which just fell off, but none of you guys can see that, and I've just spared his blushes. And he's coming to us with a very unique name today. His name's Baby Bear. You know him as Starfleet Boy. I know him as Starfleet Babe. Please welcome Baby Bear, Starfleet Boy.
Aww.
How you doing?
He's C3PO.
Hello, I'm C3PO. No, I thought I'd be a rebel and wear a C3PO hat. Hi. Thank you.
Hey, welcome. Thank you very much for joining.
I just tweeted all of you out because this panel is incredible. Minus Conti, of course, but everyone else on here is amazing.
Wow, that's some shade. I'm going to let you guys duke it out in the private chat. We do have private chat facilities, so if you guys want to start swearing at each other, do it there. Don't do it here. AJ,
losing tomorrow. That's all I'm going to say.
AJ, sum up your thoughts and feelings on this last episode and season 1 overall.
Season 1 overall, this episode, hilarious start to finish. Like I've said it before, I didn't know how they were going to make Star Trek into a comedy, but they somehow simultaneously made it seem like more realistic, and also it's like an animated version of the Star Trek that we already know and love. Like I think Rachel said before with like J.G. Hertzler, like the aliens did things that were more what I would expect someone in real life to do. Like, and then, send them a message and Mariner sends a photon torpedo. Like, that is the kind of thing that would happen in real life versus an animated show. And they knocked it out of the park consistently. So 5 out of 5, start to finish. Every episode has been, I can nitpick things, but it's everything I could have dreamed of. So
there we go. High, the highest of praise. Caleb, I have a feeling you're probably going to say some very, very similar things to the wonderful AJ, but sum up your thoughts and feelings of No Small Parts and season 1 as a whole.
So No Small Parts, definitely. I was having actually kind of a rough morning yesterday. I turned it on at 7 a.m. After my morning was already rough at 7 a.m. And so I turned it on and it just blew me away. It was great. I loved everything about it, but I still think actually Crisis Point will take the cake for me for top episode.
Yeah.
Overall, this season definitely got better as it went along. I got a little more comfortable with the humor, and I really, really enjoyed it. It's definitely up there for first seasons.
Baby Bear, my sweet baby bear, my sweet Starfleet boy. Unfortunately,
by the way, I do like it when you call me Starfleet babe. It does make me laugh.
It's usually in our private conversations, to be completely honest. But I wasn't able to make your incredible Lower Decks discussion last night, unfortunately. Do apologize. Hope I can join you for season 2 and maybe some Discovery too. But you know what? I mean. Let's talk about it. Let's talk about it, babe. Sum up your thoughts and feelings for this last episode and season 1 thoughts overall.
I give it 1,701 out of 5. Both the season and the episode. And no, I think I don't remember being this delighted about something that was new and that I was afraid of in a long time. Not just like when you think about Star Trek, but I think because it's Star Trek, there was so much pressure. Like Star Trek's going into a brand new genre. Star Trek's going to do something that, I can't think of another instance of a franchise that then creates its own parody that, it's just so interesting but it's scary. It could have totally failed. And I think they delivered. And I just love that it's, I love it. I love it. I think it's recency bias, but it is my favorite first season of all of Star Trek, so far. Now I'm rewatching TOS, and Father will get mad at me if
he will
rule it out completely. So
he
I've
will
got
literally. He'll pop in the chat and he'll go, "No, TOS 1, TOS 1."
But when I finish, I'll probably have another statement when I finish. We'll see how it goes when I finish my rewatch of TOS season 1 with him. But yeah, so far I can't remember being so excited and delighted, and just that ending in this episode was like it gets a nice little sip of whiskey.
I'm gonna have to sip a big water. Dan, we've not brought you in for a conversation. You've been very quiet and patient with us. Thank you very much.
Michael, I entrust you implicitly. I trust you.
Starfleet Boy said something, and I want to ask the room about it. Recency bias is a thing. We do get swept up in the moment. We get swept up in our feelings and thoughts. That didn't happen with Picard for me, for some reason. But I'm
on your show, so I'm going to be respectful. But when you come on mine next, we're going to grill you about Picard. It's going to happen.
Oh, God. But, I mean, recency bias is a thing. Do you think when you go back and you rewatch these episodes in a year, 5 years' time, this is a question I'd love to get your thoughts from everybody on this. Do you think you will still see Lower Decks as the show that you see it as right now?
Yeah, I do. Because... and we've made this point before that it is built on the shoulders of its giants. It has such a rich depth of a deep bench, as they say in baseball, of stuff to draw from, and that stuff is still going to land and be valid and be true in our hearts. Everything that landed with us because it was a reference or an Easter egg or some deep pull is going to still land with us in 2, 3, 4 years down the road, I think, because it's going to, I don't think there's going to be a time when this show isn't rewarding. at least this season for me. We'll see how the rest of the seasons go.
I see lots of nodding. I will get to you all because I think it's worth asking the question and getting your thoughts on it. But Continuum Trek, like me, you had some legit criticism at the beginning. Got addressed. Obviously, as the show went on, the quality improved as it went on. The same question to you. Do you think you're going to watch this show down the line 5 years' time and still go, wow, do you know what? It started and it was okay, and then it got really, really good. Do you think that you'll still be able to enjoy season 1 of Lower Decks the same way you do now down the line?
I do, yeah, because unlike say some of the other Trek shows like Discovery or even Picard, in a sense that it doesn't seem very sort of specific to this to this time period. Like TNG, you take especially the first season, it had a very sort of 80s style about it. And when you look back at it, you can definitely tell this was a product of the 80s. But this show, obviously, with it being animated, and they can just put it in the it is in the TNG sort of era, just slightly after. Yes, you can watch it 10 years, 20 years from now, instead, and it won't make a difference whatsoever. I think I'll enjoy it just as much then as I have now. So,
AJ, same question to you.
Yeah, I mean, concerning recency bias, I was thinking how when I bought the first season of Discovery on Blu-ray and I went back to jump around and do the special features, there were already episodes that I would kind of skip over in a rewatch. I mean, there are episodes of Voyager and Deep Space Nine where I have to be in a specific mood to enjoy them. Like if I'm just trying to relax, I can't watch a really heavy Deep Space Nine episode about really heavy emotional things versus Lower Decks. There is not an episode I would skip over. Every episode has something that's perfect for any. I'm probably going to watch Lower Decks because it's entertaining and lighter, but Discover and Picard as well. I think there's at least 1 or 2 episodes for the shorter seasons. Things like Voyager and TNG. There's a lot of episodes I would maybe skip over in the first season, but I can't think of an episode of Lower Decks that I would skip over. It's just funny from start to finish. So, yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Caleb, round out this quick talking point segment. I saw you nod your head earlier. Recency bias, is it a thing for you?
I think it can be in for certain episodes. I don't know. I didn't hate Temporal Edict when it first aired, and it's one I want to go back and rewatch. But on future rewatches, I'm like, maybe not. But for the most part, yeah, it's definitely a show that's easily rewatchable. And I think the runtime really helps with that too. It's very digestible compared to some of those other seasons that we've had so far. Where I just watched Project Daedalus this morning. Great episode. It's 56 minutes long. It's a little bit longer than your standard. And bless Frakes for giving us an episode like that. But still.
It is one of those episodes that I do need to go back to and check. I want to bring the mood down a little bit, but not for very long. One of the things that we all of us at some point, even the people in the chat, people on Twitter, have had to deal with have been the naysayers, have been the very outspoken critics, borderline haters. I don't like using that word. There are people out there who dislike this show intensely because it is considered new Trek, and they dislike it because of all the same, and they give you the same spiel, the same crap reasons. I do think that voice is diminishing. I'm not seeing so much content that's anti Lower Decks, but let's do a thought experiment for a second. I'm gonna put this to the room. You guys know someone who is vocally anti Lower Decks. What would you say to that person to convince them to give this show another shot, Commodore? What would you say to that person?
I first would question, honestly, whether they've seen it or not, or if they're just going to have, that implicit bias against it, because I can't imagine any true to form Trek fan who believes in the openness of Trek and the the ideology of it, who honestly went into this with an open mind and an eye towards giving it a fair shake, could come away mad. I just and then at the end of that fair evaluation, if they still didn't enjoy the show, then we part ways and probably can't be friends because that person is obviously unreasonable.
Starfleet Boy, what are your thoughts there? What would you say to someone who is very vocally anti Lower Decks?
Over like the last kind of year or so, I've seen a lot of just vitriol in general on Twitter and things like that. And I generally try to stay away from conversations where I see that it's like a very like pointed or personal thing, like someone who's just attacking Alex Kurtzman as being like the devil for running Star Trek, or CBS is a terrible shepherd of Star Trek and things like that, because those are very subjective opinions and people are certainly entitled to them, but it just doesn't. It's not an argument that I can win. Like that's just how you feel very personally about that. So I would say that like my dear friend who kind of I would call him maybe a Doom clone because he kind of mimics like what I hear from Doomcock. So I would take him out for a couple of beers, get him really drunk, and I would just say, just fucking lighten up and watch Lower Decks. It's only 5 hours. Like, it's not a huge time commitment. And stop being so goddamn disingenuous. Like, I watched you crack up at this. Like, you're laughing. How could you come out of that and not feel a little softer towards the people that are making Star Trek? So I don't know. That's just how I feel about it.
Caleb, what would you say to this imaginary person that's very vitriolic?
I actually picked a real person. Sorry, friend.
It's Caleb, isn't it? It's Caleb.
No, Caleb's delightful. And by the way, may I just say your uniform is so awesome and screen accurate looking. Like I can't stop staring at it. It's like very cool.
So on point.
You should do full screen Trek Line. Not to put Caleb on the spot.
Actually, we're doing it. Caleb, you've got the floor for a second.
Now, I know I have an extra pip. My dog actually, I think, ate one yesterday. And I was so upset. It was right after I took that captain picture, and then I was like, no, and I was like, I still want 4 pips. Help. I'm gonna have to get a new one.
I literally could imagine that being a joke in Lower Decks. My dog ate my pip.
My dog.
I love it so much. Right, let's bring it back down for a second. Sorry, Caleb. You've got the spotlight is on you for a couple of moments. Yeah, you're gonna have a conversation with somebody that's very, very anti Lower Decks. What kind of do you say to them? What are your what do you say to get them onto the show?
Well, honestly, I think the biggest strength of this season was in the last 3 episodes. And so I'm leaning towards Crisis Point, but either Veritas or Crisis Point, I would say just sit them down and just watch it with them and ask them like what they think of it truly. And I'm not going to take, there is no growth in this character or anything like that. I'm like, that's garbage. Stop. Come on. Like, you need some actual reasons. What didn't you like about it? And it can't just be the same old reasons, right? I'll take criticism, that's fine, but it has to be meaningful criticism, you know? Like Crisis Point, there were some parts of that episode that was just way over the top for me, but I loved the approach that they took with it, with all the movies, you know? And so there are things that are certainly there to love, and it's like, okay, you have to work on, I think what Dan said, your implicit biases in your frame of mind and how you view the episode. Because ultimately, if you go in with a negative viewpoint, it's not going to change. You're the one that needs to grow, you know, during that point. So,
beautifully put. AJ, what would you say?
Well, my thought is, someone who's vitriolic, I don't know that they're convincible. Maybe they've already decided they are absolutely not going to watch this show. So I'm going to focus my attention on, the people who are having a good time. This is my first thought, but because that's the assignment, to convince this person. I mean, if you're really that passionate, then just think of this as kind of like the books. Like, the books are not canon. The books are, you can kind of pick and choose which ones you are going to read, which ones you're going to like, which ones you can read, a whole bunch and say, well, I'm going to put this in my head canon, and this one I'm going to hate and review poorly. So just think of it as just like TAS was treated for a long time. It's like not quite canon, but it's still a funny reference. So just try to find something to enjoy out of it. I mean, it's written so much like a Valentine to the fans of the TNG era. If this person is a Star Trek fan because of those things, because of, Picard or Riker or Data or Worf or whoever, they're probably going to latch on to something to love here. If they are a curmudgeon who, complained about TNG because it wasn't the original series or something like that, maybe they're just not going to enjoy this. So that's my thought.
Very well put. Continuum. Finally, to round this out. Well, oh, go on, baby. Beth.
Before Conti goes, can I interrupt Conti for a second? Conti's gonna kill me later. I'm so. It's look at the murder eyes on his face. It's like crazy. He looks like Badgie right now.
You snap my neck.
Don't do it. Track lad, I'm gonna make a concession right now. I'm like, I stand for Picard, right? Like the show Picard, right? Like I'm like,
yeah, I know you do. I know you do.
Yeah.
We're not all perfect.
This show, what Picard is meant to be something new and startling, and it's meant to be like they set out as I've been watching the Blu-ray and in the documentary Make It So, they set out to intentionally only give references to TNG if it was earned. So they had a really strict kind of like code of what Picard was meant to be. This show gives me all the feels that I wanted. I wanted these connections, all these little connection points to TNG and to the rest of Star Trek, as a matter of fact. And this show does fulfill that. So in that sense, I have to say it is superior to Star Trek Picard in that sense, just specifically in that sense. So there you go. I said it on your show first. There you go.
This is recorded and this is live and this will be forever. And I am I'm gonna stick this into my Adobe software and I'm gonna crop that moment out and it's going on my phone and I am going to watch it every single day.
Wow.
But and I will absolutely accept your invitation to come and talk about Picard. I mean, you guys know that I try and talk about these things as positively as I can. I can be constructive about Picard, but I can also be very deconstructive and very anti-Picard. Unfortunately, that's just the way I am. I am not perfect. But I would say, in a nutshell, this show gave me everything that Picard didn't. It gave me the connection. It gave me place in universe. It gave me progression, a meaningful progression, whereas Picard took me and dumped me into a universe that was so alien. Just so completely alien. Now, I can understand and appreciate that was the intent of the people that were making Picard season 1. And in that respect, I think if they were attempting to discombobulate me and other people that feel the same way, they succeeded 1000%. Like I said, there are still good things to take from Picard, and I'm very optimistic about the show's future. I want them to make more. I just hope they can ensure that old man that I absolutely love with all my heart. But yeah, Lower Decks gave me that I wanted so dearly from Picard. I'm gonna so many good thoughts and stuff. Continuum, very, very quickly, without bashing somebody over the head. Someone's naysaying Lower Decks. What do you say to them? What do you do to them to, not necessarily turn them around, but how do you kind of help them see that this is a show worth their time?
I'd simply put it to them that it's a show where, with a very familiar setting, you will feel comfortable watching it, but also getting new stories. It's slightly further along. But if that sort of personality, you're still gonna be a naysayer and bash it over the head because it's not the Trek that they grew up with. It's because obviously some of these people are like complaining that things aren't the way they were when they were little, and they're saying man up.
Whoa. I love it. Well, the thing is I would say, because having recently had a couple of conversations being quite negative with some people, I do think that there is something, and it was mentioned earlier, that if you're just not going to like something, you're just not going to like it. I think you said it, AJ. It's like, I'm not going to waste my time trying to convince you to like something that I like. I'm just going to speak to people that like it and have a good time like we're all doing right now. So I think there's something to be said there. But honestly, if I turn around to somebody, if I can continue to have that conversation I was having with that gentleman the other day, I would just say, look, it's Star Trek. And anybody that says, oh, it's not Star Trek, it's like, I mean, you could be equally simplistic in that argument and say, well, it says it in the title. But I think with Lower Decks, Lower Decks is Star Trek in essence as well. Not only, from the ships that we're seeing having better semblance to what we've seen before, but the way they speak to each other. And this is something that Dan and I were talking about in an earlier segment of the show, where there are lines of dialogue that honestly have no place in a silly 30-minute comedy. You know, particularly the scene with Mariner and Freeman towards the end. You know, that we were talking about it earlier. The assumptions of race and progression. You know, underestimating Pakleds and stuff like that. I just think this show is in the hands of people that care about Star Trek. They care about the fans. They do care about lore and continuity, even though I think sometimes we worry about all that stuff a little bit too much. But what I want to say and what I want to put to the room now, guys, is the same question I asked everybody that's been part of this panel so far. Is what do you want to see more of in season 2? And would you like to see anything changed? Continuing.
I don't know if anything I'd like to see more of. I mean, I'd like to see new things, but they've also brought some old things back. And what I would love to see is perhaps characters that maybe Q or Trelane come in and just cause absolute mayhem for the crew of the Cerritos.
AJ, what would you like to see more of in season 2 of Lower Decks?
Well, to Continuum's comment, I mean, they've managed to, encounter mayhem pretty well on their own without too much interference. So they've been doing good. But in terms of season 2, I would love to see Tendi and Rutherford given kind of more three-dimensional roles. I feel like Mariner and Boimler are perfect. And even like the some of the senior officers are perfect. Tendi and Rutherford just kind of felt a bit less than three-dimensional. There was a bit of a, let's make this a will they or won't they romance kind of maybe like elements, but I think they have a lot of room for growth, and that's what I think the future will hold.
Caleb?
So this is directly tied to what we saw with the finale. I'm a big fan of the books, and I just finished reading the Destiny trilogy, and I would love to see some of the book characters from the Titan show up. And one thing especially is that actually Tuvok is a member of the Titan in the books. So that'd be cool to see Tuvok again. It's a brief stint, I believe, but he is there. But I'd be really excited to see that.
Starfleet boy, Starfleet babe. Same question to you. Is there anything that you would like to change up in season 2 at all?
I think season 1 was so spot on at capturing that era, that post Nemesis era, and like what kind of updating us as to what it is. And I think there's a great opportunity in season 2 to really branch out even further and connect us to like even more of the Federation, if you will. So I like the idea that like maybe we can maybe Boimler stays on the Titan, and we occasionally have episodes that just bounce to the Titan. So like, or like we see other members of the crew get promoted because they are like, they're all about to get. What's interesting about this thing is that Mariner seems to be a rock in the lower decks, and people come and go in her life, right? So we see Tendi come into her life at the beginning. We see Boimler leave her life at the end. And when does she get tired of that? And when does she, want to belong to a crew a little more permanently? So I just would like to see a little bit of that addressed in season 2, and then just more diversity of different types of people and things that relate to human diversity as well, that representation and things like that in general. I think Lower Decks has an opportunity for that.
Huge, massive opportunity to do it. I would like to see that more so, absolutely. And I think we're going to get there. I think we're going to have more of that. And I think the showrunners, the creators behind the show are very aware of that being in demand, now more than ever. I think that's great. I want to say something. I've been eager to. I've been trying to say this for the last 2 hours, but I didn't know when the right time to say it would be. Obviously, we lost Shax in this episode, and was rough. Was rough to take because I know I have feelings about Discovery and Picard. I think Lower Decks have created in 5 hours more memorable characters than Discovery has in 50 hours. I know that's not exactly the number, but that's my opinion. I think Shax, in his very limited screen time, in his
30 hours,
in his very limited, time on the screen, became a character that we all really cared about. So when you lost him, Yeah, it was difficult. However, I do have this theory, and you know, I like to come up with madcap theories. What if season 2 starts and Shax is back on the bridge? They're not making a big deal out of it because they've already done the search for Shax, but they did it off screen in between seasons 2. Am I out of my mind? Give me a thumbs up, thumbs down if you think that.
We had a torpedo coffin.
Yeah, I mean,
we had a
I'm
torpedo
going to
coffin.
counter that theory. I'm going to counter that theory. And I'm going to say that Rutherford is so upset because I think he's going to get his memory back at some point. He's so upset he creates a hollow Shax.
Oh, I'm going to request a different take, which is the prophets send him back just like the Cisco, and so he becomes the Shax. And like that's it, you know. Like, so we have the Cisco, and now we have the Shax.
Sorry, what was that, Conti?
Said we never saw a body, and let's face it, it would be Star Trek if at the last moment, you know, he was teleported off by another ship or by the Titan, and he, you know, accidentally ended up in a Jeffrey's tube stuck somewhere.
No, well, there was a funeral, so I guess maybe, but yeah.
What if they decide to canonize William Shatner's The Return trilogy with Shax? I'm there for it. I'm desperate to see Shax back. Sorry, AJ, you were going to say something to cap this off.
I like all of these theories. My theory has been that I haven't heard if Fred Tatasciore or whatever his name is actually coming back next season, but my theory is that he's going to kind of play a similar role every year. So like next year it's going to be Shax, but as a Bolian. Then he's going to die. And that's going to be like Shax, but as, and it's going to be like,
oh, yeah,
I think there's an example kind of on Archer, kind of about that, where like, just keep bringing the same character back, kill them, and then one detail changes.
I'm so there for that. I want to see all of these theories happen, all of them. But yeah, I do think that because Dan has got the pronunciation of this guy's name down. What is it?
Shax?
Yeah.
Yeah.
The actor's name.
Oh, the actor's name. Oh, Fred Tatasciore.
Tatasciore. There we go. I can't do it. Commodore was channeling his Italian American there. Well done. But yeah, I mean he is a career character voice actor. So and it would make sense that he would come back. I mean, maybe not as Shax. I don't know, but. I'm still not over it. I'm attempting to cope with the grief. Guys, we've reached the end. This has been a remarkable 2-hour show, and I can't thank you guys enough. Before we do let you go, though, Continuum Trek, AJ Halliwell, Caleb, Starfleet Boy, Starfleet Babe, it'd be great one final time to get your 5-star review for the episode and for the season. So Continuum Trek, what are you giving No Small Parts out of 5? And what are you giving the season overall out of 5?
I'll give both the episode and the season a 5 out of 5.
Wow. There we go. AJ, from you, sir.
Episode and season, 5 out of 5. This is one of the best. This is the best first season of a Star Trek series I have seen.
There we go. Wow. Wow. Caleb.
5 out of 5 for the final episode, and 4.7 out of 5 because it's close enough to 47. Why not?
I love it. I love it. Starfleet Boy. I'm letting you have it. I'm letting you have it. Is that for both episode and season?
Yeah, 5 for both. Same thing.
Wow. Commodore.
Yeah, so this episode definitely, if we were using a 10-point scale, this would be salamander babies. So it's 5. It's a 5. Yeah, it's definitely the season overall. I'm going to go with a 4.5. No small parts throughout this whole season. But let's talk about the economy of time, man. They did in 5 hours, which would be 5 episodes of any of the other seasons. We got to know these characters better in those 5 short hours than we would in any other season of Trek. And we're working with, or we're being treated to this by people who obviously, these kids, as they are, probably grew up watching Star Trek. This is their passion too. It's like if someone around the age of 25, the 25-year-old Trekkie, if she got hired to be a Trek writer, this kind of stuff you're going to get because, you know, this is the exciting, fun stuff that we all wanted to write when we were kids.
Shout out to Ali.
Yeah.
Shout out to Ali. And I do think CBS should hire Ali to write Star Trek because it would be consistently incredible. There we go.
And Trek on the Tube, who did a grumpy opener to your show, which was really fun.
I want to shout out to Toddy for his. He does a real good y'all.
He does a really good y'all. Well, I'm going to quickly sum up my feelings. I haven't done it yet. So I would say I have been. You know me, I don't like to give things 5 out of 5 because I reserve them for the truly special episodes of Star Trek. But guys, guess what? This was a special episode of Star Trek. It's getting a 5 out of 5. The season, I'm giving it a 4 out of 5. I think that it was a stellar, strong showing. Started off good, not great, but then got great as it went on and finished on such a strong note, such a high that I like many people who have been on this incredible panel over the last 2 hours are calling it the strongest first season of Star Trek ever. Which I definitely subscribe to, and at the end of the day, if you do too, then great. If you don't, there is a lot of Star Trek out there, so it's a big thing to say, but. Really looking forward to season 2 of Lower Decks. We've got Discovery to go through next, which is going to be fun, guys. But gentlemen, thank you so much for joining me. Continuum Trek, where can you be found, sir? And talk to me about your awesome quiz show.
Well, I'm Continuum Trek. I recently, I currently manage a new channel which is called Question of Trek. It's a Star Trek based quiz show. Which, of course, one of my team captains is here on the panel with us, is called Baby Bear or Starfleet Boy, whatever name he decides to give himself that particular weekend. And we have guests that come on different guests every week. And
you guys should all come on.
I'm down.
Working on it.
Cheers. All right. Sorry, go ahead.
The team I was on one last time is all I'm saying.
AJ Halliwell, where can you be found, sir? What are you working on at the moment?
I can be found on Twitter at AJ Halliwell. What am I working on at the moment? I'm just probably going to rewatch. So I'm going to pick and choose which parts of Discovery season 2 I'm going to rewatch and probably rewatch Lower Decks again and again and fill in all those little red links on Memory Alpha.
Amazing. Caleb, where can you be found, and what Star Trek book can you recommend to us today, sir?
Ooh. So I can be found right there at Rogue Mogue. Currently, I'm reading Mission Gamma, but I recently finished Voyager Full Circle, which is a great spot to jump in on the Voyager relaunch novels, especially if you're really excited about that Janeway news. And I think Kirsten Beyer just put out the last book, or it comes out this week or next week or something like that in that series. So that's the first book in the series, and then you can read through to the end of the series.
Awesome. Thank you, Caleb. Starfleet Boy, a pleasure as always. Where can you be found? What are you working on at the moment? What's going to be the next discussion live stream episode? Is it going to be Discovery? Or are you talking about a classic Star Trek episode next?
So next up, tonight is TQIF, Must See YouTube. And so the next conversation is going to be on Tex Trek's channel. I do a discussion with him. We're going to do like a super crazy breakdown of the episode, and then he goes through what he calls the Gorn eggs. So check that out on the Tex Trek channel, which I love. It's really fun. And then Starfleet Boy After Dark happens right after that, and it's a drinking show or a smoking show or a water show. Yeah, whatever whatever you want. You just be as yourself. Or I think the expression is, come as you are, as you want to be known. So that's Starfleet Boy After Dark, and that happens like right after the Tex Trek. Then tomorrow we do TOS discussions, and every Thursday I get together with Trek on the Tube to talk about now Star Trek Discovery. So we'll be talking about Star Trek Discovery starting Thursdays, and I invite all of you guys on. Everyone who's on this whole stream, you guys are all amazing. So please consider coming on, and that's it. Starfleet Boy, come find me.
There we go. The busiest, but one of the consistently best Star Trek content creators out there. I'm so pleased that you could join Starfleet Boy. Thank you so much. And finally, Commodore, you've been there for me and for this whole panel show since episode 1. My right-hand man, my Commodore. Where can you be found? And talk to me about that sweet, sweet bourbon podcast that you got.
You can find me on Twitter and Instagram at Dan Decker, right there, as you see on the screen, DanDeckr. As Michael mentioned, I have a podcast, Bad Choices in Bourbon. One of the upcoming guests on that show is going to be our Starfleet babe himself. But this week specifically coming up, Heather, the Batleth babe, is on Tuesday. First week we're going to have a double release. And then Allison is coming on Thursday. And both of those episodes touch a little bit on mental health. Supersized, giant-sized episode, as they say in the comic book industry, for Heather on Tuesday. Really good conversation around how bipolar disorder affects relationships, things like that. So big deep dive on that. And then Allison is she's one of the good people on Twitter, and she is a mental health professional. So having those two paired up this week just kind of worked out really great.
Amazing. Well, Commodore,
would this be the same Allison that was on A Question of Track?
It may be, yeah.
Oh, okay.
Allison from Atlanta, Georgia.
I don't know. We'll figure it out. Sorry.
We'll figure it out. Well, gentlemen, it's been, like I said, an absolute pleasure. And to all my guests, well, I'm going to have a moment quickly. So, gentlemen, thank you so much for joining me. And we'll see you next week, probably, when we talk about Discovery. But looking forward to having you join me for special panel episodes of Lower Decks. You guys are my boing boings. Thank you so much for joining. Right. Well, look, guys, this has been an incredible 10 weeks. We've enjoyed some consistently brilliant Star Trek, and it's been an absolute joy to bring it to you, to talk to you guys. This is just the beginning. Obviously, we're moving on to Discovery next week. We've got a few weeks of that show, which I'm really looking forward to. What I really want to quickly do, though, is talk about a couple of people who couldn't make it today, and just really list all of the people that have joined me for these episodes from week 1 to week 10. And I'm just really grateful for everybody who has joined, whether you have participated in the panels, whether you have come in every week and contributed to the live chat. If you have found me as a result and you've liked the channel, you subscribe to the channel, you've come and found me on Twitter. I absolutely love doing these things. They're an absolute joy to do, and I've made so many incredible friends. So to you, I want to say thank you so much. I also want to give a very special mention to one person in particular, Earl Grey Trekkie 1701. I don't know what the comment's about because it's out of context, but Robbie has popped up in every live chat of every episode that I've done for Let's Talk About Lower Decks, and it's the support from people like Robbie, from people like Old Shark, who joined us for the first time today, people like Tucko McTuckerpants as well, such a good name, who just make this so worth it and give me such joy doing this. And this is the reason why I get out of bed and I make this kind of content, because of incredible people like you. I also want to give thanks to, like I said, to some of the people who have joined over the course of this show, and there are people that you saw today. There are some people that didn't quite make it. First of all, I want to say thank you so much to Sean, Trek on the Tube, for that incredible opening, probably confusing a bunch of people, but he was able to join live by satellite to give his thoughts on the show. Couldn't make it live, but thank you so much, Sean, for joining us. And to all of my guests that have joined over the course of this season, in no particular order: Coco, Old Shark, Tiberius Hardy, Albert Android, the world's greatest bus driver, Rachel D, Chris Wickham, Sean Ferrick from Trek Culture, top quality guy, Captain Pikachu, a Continuum Trek, Rob Chapman, Albert Hogan, Penny, the incredible Stevie Lee, Caleb, Galactic Dave, Starfleet Boy, Starfleet Babe to me, AJ Halliwell, and the one, the only, my Commodore Dan Decker. You guys have been absolutely tremendous. And to you, if I've missed you out, thank you for joining over the course of Let's Talk About Lower Decks. Like I said, this is the end for this season, but we will be back when season 2 premieres. But we will be back sooner, next week, with the start and the premiere of Discovery. So we now switch over to Let's Talk About Discovery. I can't wait. What a time to be a Star Trek fan, and what an absolute meal of beautiful Star Trek that we have enjoyed. I am going to go, but I'm going to leave you with the final image of our dearly departed, the legendary Lieutenant Shax. Thank you so much for joining. Stay happy, stay safe, stay well. Until next time, live long and prosper, and I'll see you next week.